ROPER v. Simmons case was brought to the U.S. Supreme Court in 2005 and involved a 17-year-old convicted murderer, Christopher Simmons, against the state of Missouri. Simmons was convicted of murdering Shirley Crook. The evidence against Simmons was overwhelming and exacerbated by the fact that he confessed to the murder charges. One of his friends, John Tesmer, who dropped out of the murder plan at the last minute, testified against Simmons at the trial in order to show that the murder was premeditated. Due to this testimony, Simmons was charged with first-degree murder and at the age of 17, as a juvenile, was given the death penalty by the state of Missouri. As the U.S. Supreme Court was reviewing the decision of whether or not Simmons should be given the death penalty, the opinion of the world community was a key factor. It was, however, decided that while the opinion of the world community is relevant, it is not entirely controlling of the court's decision. It is important to note here that every country, other than the USA and Somalia, have ratified the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, which prohibits capital punishment for any crime committed as a juvenile. The opinion of the United Kingdom, who has close ties to the United States, was important in this case due to the fact that it abolished the death penalty for juveniles before the convention was even ratified.
Another important factor in this case was the assessment of the Eighth Amendment's Cruel and Unusual Punishment Clause, which was made nationally applicable to all states through the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause. The court's final decision in this case led to the overruling of Stanford v. Kentucky, a case that upheld the constitutionality of capital punishment for those who were over 15 and under 18, as long as they had committed a capital offense. The same day the court issued its Stanford v. Kentucky ruling, they also issued a ruling in Penry v. Linnog, holding that the Eighth Amendment did not automatically forbid the execution of persons with mental retardation. Simmons thus alluded to the case Atkins v. Virginia, a case that overturned Penry v. Linnog. The ruling of Atkins v. Virginia determined that executing individuals who are intellectually disabled could not be permissible under the Eighth Amendment. It was also argued that there was a national consensus agreeing upon the idea that execution of the mentally ill was unconstitutional. The U.S. Supreme Court decided a person under the age of 18 did not have the same sense of maturity and responsibility that mentally stable adults acquire. Almost every state does not let juveniles vote, serve on a jury, or even marry without the consent of their parents. This, along with the fact that the international judgment was strongly against the death penalty for minors, led to the appeal being affirmed by the U.S. Supreme Court. Simmons was instead sentenced to life in prison without the ability for parole. The court's decision in this case also led to 72 other death sentences in the United States being overturned for crimes that were committed by juveniles.